106.5 FM and online. It's the After 5 Guest with Wynne Thomas.
And my After 5 guest today is Peter Thabit Jones and his new play, Under the Raging Moon, One Night with Dylan Thomas in Greenwich Village, New York, a drama in 4 acts. Peter, thanks for coming this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
This is an imagined scenario of Dylan Thomas's last night, isn't it?
That's correct. Not quite the last night. It takes place about 15 days before Dylan died, actually.
And he left the Chelsea Hotel to go on his last drinking spree.
In reality, he did, yes. That was the 3rd of November. He left Liz Raytown, with whom he was having an affair, and went on the now famous drinking spree, which led to this, the comment, I've had 18 straight whiskies. I think that's a record. And then on the 5th of November, Dylan was rushed to St. Vincent's Hospital and, of course, tragically went into a coma and died on the 9th of November. So my drama is just after Dylan's arrival in New York, actually. Dylan arrived in New York on the 19th of October.
Right, so this thing about 18 whiskies, did you ever find if that's true? Or do you think it's a legend?
Well, the evidence now, for instance, an American whiskey would be the equivalent to a double whiskey in Britain.
Right.
So that would mean that Dylan drank 36 whiskies.
Oh, right.
Two friends followed, after Dylan's death, followed the usual trail that Dylan would take through the bars to end up in the White Horse Tavern. Mm-hmm. And they estimated it was probably about 6 whiskies. But of course, Dylan was quite unwell on arriving on that 4th and fatal tour. Drinking to excess, smoking, and generally unwell.
So you said falling out with his girlfriend Liz. Who was that?
Liz Raytown was John Markham Brennan's assistant. John Markham Brennan was the director of the Young Men's and Young Women's Hebrew Association Poetry Centre in New York. And Dylan started an affair with Liz on the 3rd visit to New York. So my drama basically is a night when Liz, who lived in Greenwich Village, they're on their way to Liz's apartment in Greenwich Village, and she's been upset by Dylan's behaviour throughout the day. She was trying to keep Dylan focused on 2 upcoming performances of Under Milkwood, the play for voices at the Kaufman Auditorium. Mm-hmm. And she basically gets out of the taxi and tells Dylan to get out and leaves Dylan to his own devices, and thus my imagined scenario for that evening.
So that part is true then, is it?
That part is true, that she dumped him, yes, one night. And I was aware of it, and then one evening I was sitting on the settee and I started to think, and I was thinking, well, I wonder what Dylan would have done. And then I thought, well, why not think about Dylan meeting mostly, apart from 2 bar people and 2 cronies or hangers-on, why not have Dylan meeting ordinary people? And so that's the kind of structure of the drama.
So his wife Caitlin was not with him. Did she normally go?
No, she went once in 1952, and most of the biographies state that she behaved wildly, probably more wild than Dylan.
Oh, that's okay. Right. So what research did you do then? How did you get all this knowledge?
One is I've done a lot to do with Dylan Thomas. I went to America with his daughter for 6 weeks, giving readings and talks from New York to California. I also taught 2 courses at Swansea University for the Adult Education Department for their part-time degree program. So I'm well read in Dylan's life and works, and of course Ronway and I wrote the Dylan Thomas walking tour to Greenwich Village, and I've been to Greenwich Village quite a lot of times because my New York publisher is based on Long Island. So it didn't involve that much research, but it did involve just checking certain things that had long gone back. They'd gone out of my mind.
I remember Greenwich Village being a kind of a poetry place, an arts place. Was it like that in the 50s?
Oh, it was amazing. You can really go back beyond the 50s. When you think of it, It was a place where the likes of Walt Whitman, the poet, lived, Robert Louis Stevenson, the novelist. And, you know, it was a place where Billie Holiday started her career, Jimi Hendrix, and, of course, Bob Dylan. It was a vibrant, you know, place, and spread many of, if you like, the radical, often eccentric experiments in music, art and literature worldwide, you could say, you know. And the Beats, of course, they started there as well, or gathered there anyway. So when Dylan was there in the 50s, it was all of that, but Dylan liked also the coziness of the pubs, you know, and when not, if you like, playing a poet on stage, Dylan could go into Greenwich Village and drink in the bars and speak to ordinary people, you know, obviously literary people, but, you know, my play kind of, it deals with it, Dylan speaking to ordinary people, although those ordinary people, each one that Dylan meets represents a theme that permeated Dylan's letters and his works. But you said he had an affair with his girlfriend Liz. That wasn't the first affair, was it? No. I mean, there were others. Liz was pretty serious, I think. And but, you know, I also try to show in the drama Dylan's undoubted love for Caitlin and certainly for the children, Llewellyn, Ronway and Colum. Yeah, so this is over 4 particular acts of the play. Yes. You'll see every act the same night, will you? Yes. Yes, yeah. Each act, you know, would be performed each night. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Dylan's is the only non-fiction character in this. How would you construct those characters? I thought of the themes that, you know, as I just said, that Dylan kind of dealt with, and so the first character that Dylan meets is a young man who's just become a father, and so that particular character represents birth, childhood and fatherhood. And we get Dylan's reaction, you know, when the young man is asked to sit by Dylan. Dylan is kind of feeling sorry for himself because he's just been dumped by Liz, you know, and is looking for company, if you like. The second character is a wealthy businessman, and so I set up an argument there, and it's probably the most dramatic part of the drama, where there's an argument about, if you like, making a lot of money and creativity, you know. I've often thought, you know, poetry is very close to the word poverty. And I experienced that myself as a young poet with quite a large family, you know. And so there's an argument goes on, you know. And so that's another theme that kind of Dylan was always on about money and letters. Probably not as impoverished as the legend makes out, because Dylan could always go to DJ the father and Boris something, or Florence the mother, certainly. And then the third couple, they're a married couple. They're not that young, but they kind of over the top in love. And so we deal with the theme of marriage and love. And of course, Dylan is there without Caitlin and dwelling back and thinking back to Caitlin back in Larne. And there's a lovely little scene there between the lady and Dylan. It's quite funny, I think. And then the final character is an elderly man who's terminally ill with cancer. Right. Yeah. And of course, that character represents death, which was certainly from the very early poems, even to the later poems, Dylan was obsessed with death and, in a sense, mortality, one's mortality, you know. So Dylan is drunk already, then I take it, yeah? He gets drunker and drunker with each act, yes. Yeah. And then the final scene of that final act is after saying goodbye to the elderly man who goes out, Dylan goes out onto the streets of Greenwich Village, and then there's a kind of a monologue where Dylan looks over his life, where he is now, and kind of it's quite sad, I think, in the sense that when we ultimately know the real end of Dylan's story, you know, which is to die at the age of 39. Yeah, incredible. Yes, yeah. So he's drunk already. So he gets drunk as he goes through. Yes. You're saying. They're not all nice people. That businessman is quite aggressive to us, isn't he? The businessman is, yes. And the businessman keeps calling Dylan famous poet, you know, and I think Dylan calls him Mr. Money. But, you know, it's something that Dylan was concerned about. And I think that to be a poet, I think I remember when I was a young poet, people would say, yeah, but what do you really do, for a job,
Yeah, yeah.
And so we do have this kind of tension, I think, between creativity and, well, are you making money out of it,
So, so the pubs are then, obviously, the bars are again fictional except for the White Horse Tavern.
That's correct, yeah. I deliberately made the 3 bars fictional because I thought then there was probably, a good chance that Dylan would meet people unknown to him. And then, of course, I wanted to finish in the White Horse Tavern, which is now synonymous with Dylan,
Big tourist attraction, is it? Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think that Dylan knew he was that ill, or do you think the condition he was in, this continuous drinking was going on?
Well, he was suffering blackouts. I mean, there was a blackout just before leaving in a cinema in Carmarthen.
Right.
And we know Dylan was on medication, probably given by friends, actually, uppers and downers. So it was a combination of things, really. I mean, the actual post-mortem said that it was the main cause of death was pneumonia with a fatty liver. And but we now, I think most people, certainly biographers, they settle on medical negligence as the cause of death. Dr. Milton Feltenstein, who was Liz Raytell's doctor, gave Dylan 4 days before Dylan's death a large dose of morphine as a sedative.
Ooh, right.
And so yes, it was never settled. Feltenstein always refused to answer questions, and is long gone now. But I think most biographers would settle that it was medical negligence, unfortunately. And tragically.
And as you said in the beginning, you were sitting on the settee one night and wondered about the end of Dylan's life.
Yeah.
Do you think that you wrote the play because there's little sort of evidence really what really happened to him at the end? It's kind of blurry here and there. Would you say that?
Yes, I think so. But I think I put the play deliberately about 14 days before the actual death because I didn't want to go into that area because I knew then that I couldn't really use my imagination so much. I would have to then rely on actual facts. And so you get the idea, actually. I don't want to give the ending of the play away.
No.
But you get an idea of what is to come, but yes, that's the reason why.
So performances then, are we going to see it on stage?
I'm talking to some actors at the moment, and we're certainly looking towards a full script reading, and then we'd launch the actual book as well. I'm going out to America again in April, and there's talk of some sort of staging there, whether it would be acting or a full script reading. The book itself is actually a stage drama, but I also wrote a version for radio. And I did that, in a sense, as a tribute to Dylan's wonderful works for radio. I thought, why not have a go? So we might well, in America, do the radio version, but on stage.
So kind of an Underneath Wood production.
Exactly, yes, yes.
Oh, there well, okay. So you're publishing the book yourself, aren't you?
It's co-published, actually, with my publisher in New York, Cross Cultural Communications, run by Stanley Barkan. But I also run an independent publishing press, the Seventh Quarry Press, and it's published many poets and children's writers. I've got several books lined up by American and Welsh poets. But yes, we co-published it.
Well, thanks so much for coming along to see me today. You've been absolutely wonderful.
It's been a pleasure, Wyn. Thank you so much.
Yep. So that is my After Five guest today. That's Peter Thabit Jones. His play, or his book, is called Under the Raging Moon, and it'll be available quite in the near future?
Yes, certainly. Yes, in bookshops as well.
In bookshops, yeah, lovely. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Okay.